Atlanta, Southside shows for a couple dollars, yeah. Yeah.
A legendary Chicago Cub once said, "Let's play two." And that's what we're doing on this Wednesday. It's the second round of our doubleheader on this brew party Wednesday night. Two of my good friends are joining me. They're back. They're making their return. They are the co-hosts of the premier Chicago Cubs minor league baseball podcast. It is Jimmy Nelligan and Greg Huss from the Growing Cubs pod. Guys, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to talk some baseball with you, with it being, still opening week. Technically, we're going to talk Cubs, we'll talk Cardinals, some other baseball stuff, of course, minor league stuff as well. Guys, how are you doing?
I love the premier Cubs minor league podcast. I love that.
Number one.
Like, considering we're the only one, we have to be number one, right?
I'd hope so.
I really like the intro there, Greg. We need something like that.
I know. Yeah. I gotta talk to Nick Beatty about getting us a song. Which song we can use for him for our podcast.
He was very down. Like, I remember when I started the pod, he goes, "Here are these two songs I think you should use. Like, I think they'd be great." And I was like, it was like within the first week or whatever. So I was like, "Oh shit, hell yeah!" But I told him I need to get the brew party dropped in a song, like in a lyric. If we can get Growing Cubs and the brew party in the same song, like. It's over. Bars, granola, flow, Ebola.
Soon after that.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into your guys' pod a little bit. I mean, like I said, it's been a while since we've talked. Like the last time we talked, Greg and Jimmy, we had you on with Alex Ola, legendary episode, and then when we had you guys on together, we had Greg mad about hot dog being a sandwich and Yadier Molina and all that good stuff. So let's talk a little bit about you guys. What is going on in the Growing Cubs world right now?
You want me to lead off, Jimmy?
Yeah, because really, I don't think there's a whole lot going on right now without a minor league season for the last year and a half. So yeah, go for it, Greg.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're up to we're on episode 55 of our podcast, I think, and I think 45 of those 55 episodes came with no minor league season. So that's been a challenge. But I mean, as far as minor league baseball goes, we start in a month for minor league games, and it'll be weird covering actual games going on. But I mean, I'm just excited baseball is actually going on, whether it's minor league or major league, So. I don't know. We've been over the long off season. We had about a dozen or so guests on, a lot of players on, which is always cool to talk to the players. I mean, Andy, that chatting with those players and picking their brains on stuff is just that's cool as shit. So enjoyed that, and then I feel like we've been what we do is we just cover a shit ton of prospect lists, and then we just do that over and over and over and over again, and so that got a little old really fast, but it's been good. We're excited for the minor league season to start for the pod. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
I will say too, we go into a lot of our podcasts without really any strategy, and I feel like those are almost the best episodes. Is the ones where we end up talking about something that we don't say we're going to talk about, and we end up talking about that for a half hour, and it just keeps rolling. I don't know. It's going to be really weird when a season actually starts again and we have something super organized that we have to talk about and hit on all those points, because we can't just wing it like we have in the past 40 episodes pretty much.
Damn near, yeah.
So what is the release look like for you guys? Is it once a week? Is it a couple every 2 weeks, or how often we pump these out?
We've been going every other week recently. I mean, and making that work. But once the season starts out, we'll be going once every week, once a week, and basically just covering everything that's going on in the Cubs minor league system for that week. I mean, kind of the news and notes type stuff, the talking about what prospects are hot, things like that. Not physically hot, but killing the ball. And damn. No, but so we'll go back to once a week, and it'll be weird doing that. I mean, because we've gotten into the process of just every other week, and and having a weekend free and not having to record. But I mean, I guess it's a good problem to have, though.
Right. So what are some of your favorite guests you guys have had on like recently? I know the last time you guys were on, you told me about Alex Cohen, the guy that does play-by-play for the Iowa Cubs, and him just being really good. Any guys recently that really were great?
Oh man, I was gonna mention Alex. Alex is a really good guy.
Yeah.
We just had Cole Roederer, who's in the system. He's probably gonna be like a center fielder for the Cubs. He was a really, really cool guest. He was I don't know. I feel like going into like interviews with players, I'm like probably way more nervous than they are, obviously. And I don't know, like getting people to talk, I think is just like the hardest thing, like for any interview. And Cole came in there just like fucking just guns blazing. Like he was going to talk like we really didn't need to ask him questions. He could just like came on and just talked for like an hour. And that was like so awesome. There's just things that like he talked about. Like he's a hilarious dude. Yeah. And, I don't know. That's one that like jumps out to me like really recently. Yeah, and he's like a pretty high rated prospect too, which is like always cool.
Yeah, he was a big time Cali bro, like big time Cali bro. Like he came on and he was like, "What up, fellas?" And I was like, "Oh my, this is gonna be a great episode." And you're right, Jimmy. Like we just kind of like we had some questions planned out, obviously, but like we would get into questions and he would just like go like off on tangents, telling all sorts of different stories, like. He was doing like impersonations of his manager and like just all over the place. It was my favorite. I think that was probably my favorite interview we've done like so far, just of anybody really. And I mean, because we went on for I think longer than an hour. We told him we're like, all right, we'll come on for about a half hour or so. And he's like, all right, sounds good. And then we went for like a full hour of him just like shooting the shit with us. So Roederer was probably my favorite one too.
Dude named Cole that's a Cali bro. Like this guy have an incredible head of lettuce or what?
Oh yeah. The lettuce. He's got the lettuce. He's got the some great tattoos to go along with it. I mean, he just big time Cali bro. Big time.
Guy pimps every home run too. Makes it like so much better.
So speaking of guys that are in the Cubs system, you said Cole is a center fielder, projects to be an outfielder for the Cubs. Who are some other guys right now that you're really excited about that you think can be making an impact, in the near future with the Cubs? I know what comes to mind for me is a guy like Nico Horner, who got optioned to AAA, which didn't really make sense to me. I'm a Cardinals fan. I'm not a Cub fan, but I think I consume enough baseball to kind of understand that he's an MLB ready guy. And I know, Greg, I saw you on Twitter very upset about that. Jimmy, I think you probably retweeted or said something about it too. But so I guess let's talk about Nico, but are there any other guys before we get into that you're also excited about?
Yeah, I mean, I think that for me, I mean, there's some guys that are like top 100 guys in baseball type prospects. And I know that Cole Franklin is a guy that we even had on the podcast. And I mean, he's a dude that like, above like short season ball, he's had all of like 4 innings, something like that. Like he hasn't played because we had that gap year of no minor league baseball. So we had him on the podcast. He was great. He's someone that I know that me and Jimmy are both really high on Cole Franklin as a pitcher. He'll probably, but he won't make an appearance like this year in Chicago. He's a few years out. And I think that's where a lot of the Cubs like top prospects are. They're a few years out, but there's also a lot of guys that the Cubs have that are in AAA, and they're like back into the rotation type starters that are going to make an impact probably this year.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see like top prospects up this year for the Cubs, but I think 2 of the names like everyone really talks about is at least like, in the batter's box, it's going to be Miguel Amaya and Brennan Davis. Brennan's an outfielder, Miguel Amaya is a catcher, and they're both like top 100 guys. Amaya is going to be in Chicago before Brennan. Brennan's probably like a few years, Amaya's like a couple. And I'd say those are probably the guys I think like almost like the average Cubs fan is like heard of and is definitely really looking forward to, because they're a guy that, could potentially be like an all-star. Some guys that are like lower, like kind of down the totem pole in the system that like aren't top 100 guys. Chase Strumpf, obviously. I always talk about Chase Strumpf on the pod. He's a second baseman. He actually cracked like a top 10 second baseman list on Pipeline just because it's second base, so it's a little bit more thin of a field. Braylon Marquez is another guy, big power arm. He got his debut last year. Didn't do too hot You know,
he was nervous as hell.
Yeah, but I mean, he's a guy. He's going to throw the ball like triple digits. So I mean, that's always awesome to have in your system.
See, Greg Zumak just commented and said Brennan Davis is the truth. Like, yeah, Brennan Davis he's the top. We've mentioned all these names, but we haven't mentioned Brennan Davis, and Davis is the top prospect in the system. And like in my eyes, like pretty clearly the top prospect in the system, right? Like I think that. I mean, he's ranked above the other guys and on most lists and stuff like that. But in my eyes, it's just like it's Brennan Davis and everybody else. And there's a good like top tier of guys, but Brennan Davis he's no joke.
I think, Greg, you've been talking about Brennan Davis for what seems like 3 or 4 years now. Just haven't let anybody that you've talked to not know that Brennan Davis is the truth. So here's a question about a guy that's currently on the Cubs roster. This is my friend Tom Scavetta. He says, "What are your expectations for Rizzo this year?"
An extension.
Yeah, extend that man. Extend him. I'll go into it first because I'm pissed off about all that. Anthony Rizzo, he needs to be extended right now. It's one of those things where I was actually talking to Grant Baker, who I know is watching right now, and talking to him about like the difference between extending a guy like Anthony Rizzo and extending a guy like Yadier Molina, right? They're both franchise, like face of the franchise players, but you're looking at like Yadier Molina for the Cardinals, and he is like 38 years old now, like clearly like way past his prime. But then you look at a guy like Anthony Rizzo, and like it makes, even if you take out the fact that like he's the face of the franchise, it still makes sense to sign an extension with Anthony Rizzo because he's been incredibly durable over the course of his career. Mm-hmm. He has like a batting profile that will age really, really well. And it makes business sense to sign Anthony Rizzo, and it makes baseball sense. And he's also, if he finishes his career in Chicago, he's going to get a statue out front of Wrigley Field. So I think that because the Cubs front office did him super dirty and said, "Hey, here's what was the contract they offered him? It was like 5 years, $70 million or something like that. Something just
I think it was less than that.
Yeah, something like insulting.
Not even.
And I think that he's going to come out and just tear it up. I think he's going to tear it up and be like, "Screw you guys! Like, this is how good I am."
Well,
yeah, I mean, we're looking at a guy for like the next 5 years that could, hit 30 home runs each season, bat like 280. He takes his walk, right? He always crowds the plate. So, I mean, he's going to have a high like OBP, and he's going to win you some gold gloves too. So, like, it's just, like Greg said, it makes total sense. Like, he's a face of your franchise to like extend this guy. And I will say, of like all the players on the Cubs right now, if another player wears like a different jersey, Rizzo would be like the weirdest out of all of them.
The worst.
Like before maybe like a couple weeks ago, I don't think I could ever like just fathom like Rizzo playing for another team. And it's going to be weird if he does.
When he goes and joins Joe Madden in LA.
Yeah.
Well, that was like all those talks of the Cardinals not bringing Yachty back this year. Like, it would have been
sucks though.
Okay. We know your guys' fucking opinions on Yachty. I don't know if you saw the end of my thing I did earlier with Lucas, but he had a message for you guys.
Oh, I missed it.
Yeah, I need to pull it back up and remember what he said, but it was definitely about Yadier Molina and how the Cubs were like 2 for 55 as a team at the plate. But we have another listener question.
Real quick on Yachty. I don't want to hate too much because he'd be a great backup in Chicago.
He's hitting like 314 right now, and he hit a home run tonight.
He'd do a hell of a job backing up Wilson Contreras.
Yeah, okay. Wilson Contreras could fucking carry Yachty's fucking bag to the clubhouse. All right, we have another listener question actually here from Christopher Caulfield. Shout out Chris Caulfield, man. Haven't talked to you in a while. Thank you so much for tuning in. What do you think of David Ross's progression as a manager after Madden's decent success?
Jimmy, I'll let you start on this one.
Yeah, Jimmy, go ahead.
I remember he admitted like yesterday that he probably kept Williams in too long, and that's like really good to see, or like refreshing, because I think Madden was someone that just wasn't gonna like admit that he kept the players in too long. Because I will say this, it's very hard managing bullpens, and I think you're going to make your mistakes as a manager. Like, no matter what, if you keep a guy in too long or you pull him too early, like, there's always going to be people that are going to be questioning that, especially when you don't know what the outcome would have been on the other end. And at first, I was pretty hesitant about David Ross, like the signing. That felt a little bit more like Hollywood-y because, I don't know, it felt more like he wanted to sell tickets more than like win games.
Yep.
But I think he's coming into his own as a manager, and I think we're definitely seeing the differences between, you know, his kind of club and then like the Joe Madden, like laid back. It's going to be a different lineup every day. We're going to be like, you know, having Legion Day one day, then the next we're going to dress up like, you know, Cowboys or whatever, which is like fun, like those kind of teams. But it's nice to see like Ross not really following suit after like, you know, like following that sort of like pattern that he kind of had and becoming his own manager. And I think he's still coming into his own. And it's I don't think we really quite know what Rossi's style is yet. You know,
we had just a short season last year, and like everything is weird as hell last year. So you don't really know what he is.
Mm-hmm. But we're seeing like a lot of positivity, especially like with the lineups that he's making. I think he's not too quick to keep like playing the same lineup, but he is like playing the same lineup kind of. I like that he's batting Contreras high. I don't like him batting leadoff, but I like Contreras in the 2-hole. But I don't know. It's really hard to say too. Like, it's kind of early on this season. It's the first like full season from him, but I'm glad he's not just trying to be like a Madden clone. You know, I'm glad that he's like doing his own thing.
The best part about David Ross managing is that we don't have to see Albert Almora batting leadoff every single game.
Is he still on the Cubs? Is he?
No,
still...
he's on the Mets now.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's probably batting leadoff for the Mets and hitting 150 with and rolling over to third base on every single ball hit. So yeah, I kind of ditto everything Jimmy said too. I mean, it's one of those things where it's too soon to tell. Just because last year was so weird, and I was one of those guys that I really didn't like the hire when they brought in David Ross, and he's not like super, like he's not proving me wrong, but he hasn't really proven me right either. It's just kind of like we're wait and see mode. He's not Mike Matheny, so that's good.
You're already winning there if he's not Mike Matheny. Jesus Christ! So he hasn't alienated your entire bullpen and doesn't talk to him.
He hasn't run Kevin Segrist into the ground yet.
So, God damn it. If we get a little back on track here, I want to pick your guys' brain a little bit. We were talking about the NL Central earlier and just kind of how it's a dumpster fire. You know, I'm a Cardinals fan. You guys are Cubs fans, obviously. Going into this year, you know, you guys were just talking about how frustrated you are about, you know, the Rizzo things. There's been questions really about like what the Cubs are doing with their money. They say they don't really have any to pay anybody. You see guys like Schwarber, Lester. You just mentioned Albert Almora is gone. Like how long can they really keep? Darvish is gone as well. Yeah, absolutely. Almost fucking Cy Young last year. So, I mean, where do the Cubs sit in this division? Like, I still feel like it's wide open to almost anybody. I know we're 6 games in, but the Reds, I mean, seem to be the hottest team so far. And I you know, it's a deep drive by Castellanos. That 2-game suspension, I will say, was fucking bullshit. Like, I'm a Cardinals fan. Like, that was so stupid. Like,
he yelled loudly at somebody.
He got hit by a pitch and then scored on a wild and let the dude know about it.
He was too mean, man. He was too mean.
Listen, I loved it. But I also loved Yachty, like, not taking any shit and, like, getting right in his face. I know you guys will fucking hate on that until whatever. But if we're being real, if Castellanos gets a suspension, Yachty probably should have gotten something too.
Neither should have, but if one does, like, the other one probably should too. Like, it's dumb. It's dumb.
Absolutely. So, yeah, Greg, you start us off here. How do you see this division really, like, shaking out as this year goes on?
I went on somebody else's podcast recently, and I said that if it's possible, I don't know if it's like statistically possible that 3 different NL teams win 85 games. I think the Cubs, Cardinals, and Brewers all just win 85 games, and like some tiebreaker determines like who wins the Central. Because I think the Central all like they all suck. I don't think the Reds are legit. I don't think the Reds are very good. Well, the Pirates are awful. We know that's one thing we do know. I don't think the Reds are very good. I don't think they'll be above 500. And then you got the Cardinals, Brewers, and Cubs, and they're all good enough to like win the division. But like, what's that really saying? I don't know. You got like the Cubs lineup has been like not great the past 4 years now. Like talented names, but not really performing too well. And then you have the Cardinals rotation is absolutely awful, like so bad. And then the Brewers are doing the same thing they do every year, where they trot out a bunch of guys that, like, nobody knows who the hell they are, and somehow they still perform. So I don't know. Like, if you told, like, I would listen to any argument for any order of those three teams, because there's no way of telling. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, I'll kind of lump the Reds in there. I don't know. I'll hop on the Reds bandwagon a little bit. Yeah, sure. Why not? 85 games? Yeah, they can do that. I mean, if you're playing in like the NL Central for that many games, like it's anyone's besides the Pirates. Pirates, they have like no shot.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The Reds, like, they're hot right now. They're scoring hella runs, and they can keep building on that. Like, Castellanos has like absolutely been killing it on my fantasy squad, I should also say.
Oh,
got to get that in there. He's my leading scorer, I think. I think he hit another home run today.
Yeah, he is.
But
deep drive.
Oh yeah, that's all he does.
Yeah, speaking of fantasy, Anthony Rizzo's on my fantasy team. So
big Cubs guy.
I would not mind him having a good year. Yeah, I got Rizzo and Arenado at the corners. I'm just an NL Central guy. Speaking of the Pirates, though, I saw this meme that it just said at Pittsburgh Pirates, and then it was a picture of like somebody holding up a sign, and it said our expectations were low, but holy fuck.
That's so accurate.
Yeah, but it's just like
they were bad. They lost. Well, whatever they did last year, it was enough to get the number 1 overall pick, right? Like they were the worst team in baseball last year, and then they went and traded Josh Bell, their best player, and they traded somebody else too. Like they went from the worst team in the league last year to like worse,
even worse. Yeah.
And it's that's where all the wins from the Cardinals, Brewers, Cubs, and even Reds are going to come from, is because the Pirates are going to lose 110 games.
Yeah. What's that dude's name? Their like opening day starter, Chad Kuhl or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, that
sounds right. Yeah.
Never heard of him before. Like this season, he got absolutely like lit up again today.
Yeah.
It's just rough to be a fucking Pittsburgh fan, and it just like sucks because like their ballpark is like regarded as one of the best in the league. It's like really nice, and then it's just absolute shit product. I mean, are the Nationals almost like honorary members of the NL Central at this point? It's like Lester, Josh Bell, Schwarber. I'm sure they've taken other guys from
Starlin Castro's on the Nationals still.
Is Matt Adams on the Nationals again?
I think I saw Matt Adams just sign with the Rockies, maybe, or somebody. I don't know. He's probably tearing it up though. Yeah, he's a stud, playing left field.
Big city, baby.
Yeah.
So I really don't know. I think as a Cardinals fan, I want to say that they have the best corners with Goldschmidt and Arenado, and it's just nice that they actually have somebody you have to be afraid of. Obviously, Yadier Molina for the Hall of Fame. But no, you said it, Greg. It's the question is their rotation, and like it's bad. It's like we had Carlos Martinez still trotting out for starts, and
Adam Wainwright's your number 2.
Yeah.
Actually, you're number 2, and it's one of those things where if Adam Wainwright's the number 5, or even the number 4, maybe, right? If he's the number 4, it's like okay, I can understand that maybe. But if Adam Wainwright at is he 53 years old is
fucking might as well be.
That's not a good sign.
I know. So his first start that he had, he did get the loss and he did give up a couple runs, but 2 or 3 of them were on infield hits. Like he wasn't giving up bombs and shit like that, but it's just when he let's just say I'm not excited when Adam Wainwright's trotting out for a start, or I see the lineup card and it's Wainwright's getting the start.
If you had expectations of him as a number 5 starter, then that'd be terrific,
Yeah, exactly. But we're trotting out a 42-year-old fucking number 2. So yeah, if they can get healthy with their starters and bring a guy like Michaelis back, or even KK from last year, I think they have a chance. Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt in your lineup. You have a chance. I honestly, I wasn't a fan of them letting Colton Wong walk. I thought what he brings defensively is worth the shit you're getting at the plate. But whatever. Let's talk about the rest of the league. So one in the NL, we'll keep it there. The NL West, who has the upper hand? The Padres made shitload of moves. They bring in Blake Snell, Yu Darvish, just go down the list. And then the Padres, or not the Padres, goddamn, the Dodgers. They bring in a guy, Greg's favorite, Trevor Bauer. David Price is actually playing this year. They just always seem to have somebody. Do you guys have a team in mind there that you think has the upper hand?
Let me answer this one. I'm definitely on Team Padres right now. I cannot stand the Dodgers. David Price also had I think he threw in relief because he's also on my fantasy squad. I ended up dropping him. He threw 2 innings of relief and just got absolutely lit up. And also, I think I saw on Twitter that's because Bauer threw today.
Yeah.
And they grabbed one of his balls.
Yeah. From the first inning.
Uh-huh. And I mean, we all know
he
Trevor Bauer is getting stupid spin race on his baseball randomly. If he gets busted with something, I don't know.
Wait, can I interrupt Trevor Bauer real quick? I gotta interrupt. I gotta interrupt here. Okay. Trevor Bauer, this man, he literally before the 2020 season, he literally came out in an interview and goes, yeah, you can't pick up 3,000 RPM or not 3,000, 300 RPM on your fastball. You can't, you just can't do that without extra grip or something like that. And then he comes out that year and does exactly that. And he's like, oh, nope, everything's good. Everything's legal. Trevor Bauer's the fucking worst. All right, go ahead, Jimmy. Sorry.
He is. I was going to make that point. Thank you, Greg. But, I don't know. The Padres, I think on paper, even the Padres are a lot better than the Dodgers. They are deep in their rotation. Everyone in their infield is solid. They got Will Myers. I think they can definitely make a run for it. I don't know if they're going to win the World Series, but I think they can definitely beat the Dodgers, especially if Bauer gets in trouble. I think there's going to be a little bit of a World Series hangover because I feel like there usually is for teams. And I just really like that this year, every team was we lost so much money, we can't go out and do all this in free agency. And then the Padres were just hold my checkbook. They just came in there, they signed everyone that they possibly could. I don't know. Just in the year where everyone's we're losing money, the Padres were whatever, we'll just sign, the MLB. And I don't know. I'm cheering for them after that.
Yeah.
My Darvish and Caratini over there. So I feel I'm a little biased also. And I just hope they do well there.
Yeah, my heart's saying the Padres, but I feel it's the Dodgers to lose always. I mean, the Dodgers are just so good. They're so deep every single year, and I mean, I think that those two teams are going to clearly be the 1 and 2 teams in the NL West, by far. But I just think that it's the Dodgers to lose, and I'm rooting for the Padres, and it also doesn't help that Fernando Tatis Jr. just went out with an injury. He'll be out for a little bit, I think, is what I saw. So that doesn't help matters, but I don't know. It's one of those things where both teams are going to be great, and we could see both those teams in the NLCS at the end of the year.
Yeah. So you said it sounds like the Dodgers to lose. So yeah, they'll win the division and then lose a heartbreaking fucking playoff series and not make the World Series again, or make it to the World Series and then lose again.
Yeah.
You talked about Tatis getting hurt. Another team with a guy that got hurt and then, they did some ridiculous tribute to him like he died, was the White Sox and Eloy Jimenez. Greg, the White Sox are a team that you've been talking about for a few years now, kind of like Brennan Davis, that you said, just watch out for the White Sox.
Yeah.
Do you think this is the year that they really, really start to make some noise in the AL Central?
I think I'm trying to remember, but years ago I said I was 2020. I think it was 2020 where I said 2020 is the year the White Sox are going 162-0. They're just running shit. Yeah. And I feel they've just kind of toiled a little bit and they haven't really gone so when the Cubs did their rebuild, for example, or the Royals or whoever did their rebuild, right? And the Cubs had all these prospects coming up and were getting better because they kept adding all these prospects, but through the draft, through trades and stuff like that, they got to a point where they said, all right, well, now we have these guys up there. We need to make those few free agent deals to really solidify this roster. And that's where you saw John Lester come in. You saw Ben Zobrist and Jason Hayward that really like solidified the team, right?
Mm-hmm.
The White Sox like haven't really done that as well as I think they should. Like they brought in like Dallas Keuchel, and it's like, okay, like he's pretty decent. They brought in like last year they brought in Edwin Encarnacion, right? And they're just bringing in guys. It's like, okay, like is that really like a guy that is going to put you over the hump? And I don't think they've handled the back end of this rebuild the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And so now like they're competing with like the Twins in the AL Central, and I feel like this team in the year 2021 should not be competing for the division. They should be going like hard for competing for the World Series. And yeah, you get guys like Eloy Jimenez gets injured and stuff like that, but I just don't think the roster's like dominating like I expected it to be at this point, you know?
Yeah, and LaRussa was such a stupid hire too.
Yeah.
From all the excitement you get from the White Sox, and then they do that, I feel like that was just like so deflating for like any fan that like kind of was cheering for them.
A corpse.
Like,
it just didn't make sense. Like, what are you hiring an 4-year-old dude?
Something
like,
absurd, yeah.
to manage this young and up and coming team. Going back to Twitter, another tweet that I saw, somebody tweeted, it was like, what color is LaRussa's hair? And PFT commenter responded and said, it's either an amber or a blonde. Classic LaRussa. I'm a Hall of Famer, brother.
Yeah, I'm a Hall of Famer, brother.
I remember 2011 very fondly and thank him for all he did with the Cardinals, but that it was just impossible not to fucking make fun of. Like,
yeah,
come on.
they have one of the most exciting, like, fun teams, and they're like, all right, let me bring in like old man LaRussa, and he's just gonna be stuck in his. Baseball is so much different now than what it was when he managed in 1973, and so. It's just like it's going to be hard for him. It's going to be hard for him and the team to adjust to baseball now. It's different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild, like, just how old he is. Like, just thinking about that, like, you can multiply me times 3, and you still wouldn't add up to, like, how many years LaRussa has.
Yeah,
like,
LaRussa.
Like, just imagine the game in the 70s, like, when he was, like, a part of it. Like,
yeah.
I don't know, when was, like, the first year he managed? Like, it was forever ago.
Dude, like, absolutely absurd that Tony LaRussa and Dusty Baker will manage against each other this year.
Oh, I hope they get in a fucking fight.
Oh, my God.
I hope there's a benches clearing fucking ball.
And they duke it out. Yeah. And I said duke it out because they're 85 years old, so they say the words duke it out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Tony LaRussa is 76. His MLB debut, so like when he was a player, he played from 63 to 73. His first managerial job was with the White Sox, started in 79. So 79 to 86. Then he was with the Athletics from 86 to 95, the Cardinals from 96 to 2011. 10-year break, 2021. He's back with the White Sox.
He managed in the 1970s. I was mostly joking around when I said that.
Well, so he first managed 41 years ago.
That is
right?
wild.
Did I do that math right?
I think so. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, because it's I'm not a math guy, Jimmy. I'm not really a numbers guy.
I'm glad you got your research team on it, though.
Yeah, but yeah, no, Wikipedia. That is my research team. So, gun to your head. Give me AL and NL representatives in the World Series. Way too early. 6 games into the season.
All right. I got my prediction before the season. I've got the Dodgers and the Angels with the Dodgers winning. Because it's just one of those things where the Angels have got to get over that hump at some point, right? Like Mike Trout's got to get in the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
Shohei Ohtani's so excited. Like, give me Dodgers over Angels in the World Series, and that'd be a pretty fun like LA matchup in the World Series.
I'm so glad you said that. This might be a little ballsy of a pick, but I'm gonna go Angels and Padres.
Nice.
I think that's probably like one of the most exciting matchups to watch too. I think like seeing like Ohtani start against like I don't know Darvish, like take your pick of anyone like on the Padres, I think would be like a really exciting.
I know why you said Darvish,
matchup.
Jimmy.
Dylan Bundy versus Blake Snell.
Isn't it wild though that like so I've talked about it plenty that like the current Angels roster like they have Mike Trout who's going to go down as the best player of all time.
Mm-hmm.
They have Shohei Ohtani who's arguably the most talented player in the world right now, right? Being able to hit and pitch. You have Albert Pujols is one of the greatest players to ever play. They have up until like past years, they had Andrelton Simmons, who is one of the best defensive players of all time. You got Justin Upton, who is an all-time underrated player. Like they're just stacked.
You're forgetting Anthony Rendon at third base. And
Anthony Rendon, who's like probably the most underrated player in all of baseball.
Dude, they've been stacked for years. And what does Mike Trout, has he won a playoff game?
Adele too.
Yeah, I think he's won one. I think he won one like his like second year.
Like,
but I don't know that for sure, honestly.
I think the MLB and Rob Manfred would cum their pants if they had an LA World Series.
With
Mike Trout in it. You guys are perfectly hitting my segue here, bringing up the Angels, because I wanted to talk about Shohei Ohtani. He was kind of the talk of this opening week. He's first inning of his start. He's throwing 101. First pitch he sees, it's 451 feet and fucking right center. Then, didn't he leave a game? Didn't he kind of get hurt, banged up? Like, how much is the MLB shitting their pants that this is the first full year that Ohtani can like actually do both? And do you think he can sustain both, like playing DH or pitching and hitting the whole year? Like, do you think he can actually do it?
I don't think he'd be like a full-time hitter and full-time pitcher. Like, I don't think he's gonna put up like 180 innings on the mound and like get like 500 plate appearances at the plate. Like that's just not. I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't think it's possible. But dude, did you see that tank he hit? That the 451 foot ball? Like the sound that it made was like absurd.
First pitch. Yeah, and it was that just gone. Get the fuck out of here, baseball.
Like I love Mike Trout. Like Mike Trout is the best player in baseball. But like the fact that Ohtani can do both of those things, there's a stretch there for a few days that he had the hardest hit baseball in the major leagues this year and the hardest thrown baseball in the major leagues this year. It's like that insane, dude. Like insane the amount of talent that guy has.
Yeah, he's also on my fantasy squad as a pitcher, but neither here nor there. Just got pretty good pickup late. You guys were kind of sleeping on, but it's all right. He's one of those guys where you watch him hit, and you're like, why the hell doesn't he just hit like full time? And then you watch him pitch, and you're like, why the hell doesn't he just pitch full time? Like I love him on the mound. I love guys that they're like a really dirty splitter. Like James Norwood's the same way. Like if he could locate a pitch. But, like, just seeing Ohtani throw that splitter, like, 91 to 93, just, like, falling out of the zone, I think is a lot more fun for me, like, personally, to watch than his fastball. And, I mean, that guy just has, like, some just insane pop. And it's amazing that he's doing this after, like, being injured, too. Like, he's throwing bullets. And that's, like, really amazing to see. But, like, I don't think that he's going to be able to, like, really continue to do this. Like, I think as age like progresses, he's going to have to like pick one or the other. Mm-hmm. And I'm with Greg too. I don't think he can hit 4 games and then start the 5th, like on the mound. I think there's going to have to be a lot of days off, and it's going to be interesting to see how they manage that. And I love Joe Madden, but he's the last guy I would want managing that, like I think him as a manager for Ohtani is a little bit of a disaster. I think he's going to be overused a bit.
I love it. For the wrong reasons.
Yeah. You can't do it forever, but like, I think this is going to be a historic season in that sense. And it's going to be interesting to see because we're starting to see more of those kind of guys too that are like batters and pitchers. Like they're not just making guys like in college, like select one. And I think he can be like the trailblazer for those kind of like category of players. And it's going to be interesting to see how like Major League Baseball in general, like just kind of reacts to it.
Now, I don't know the answer to this, but like, what's it going to take for him to win MVP? Like say even if he's not full time either, right? Like say he only throws like 100 innings and he only gets like 300 at bats, but so like that's like a half a season for both of those like positions, but he kills it at both. Like, is he MVP? Like that? It's just kind of a weird like we've never seen it before, so I don't know, but like he's got to be right.
The qualifier there, like how do you compare it to like let's say he goes off like so his ERA is like sub 2. And he's hitting like 280 with like 25 bombs.
He's got to be MVP.
You have a guy that's hitting 310 with 30 bombs and like 90 RBIs. Like who do you give it to there? I know that's like a very exaggerated couple stat lines there, but
like you got to give it to Ohtani, right? Like it's doing like together it would be a full season, right? Like half a season of pitching, half a season of hitting. And if he kills it in both, then like I don't know. He's got to be MVP at that point, right? I don't know the answer. It's just something we've never seen before, ever.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's cool, and it's funny that I just hope Joe Madden's just in his van outside of the Angels Stadium in LA, just getting high as fuck before each game, and just really trying to figure out what he's going to do with Shohei Ohtani. Because he's just been in there, smoke's like floating everywhere.
Oh, yeah. I think I'm going to bat him leadoff today.
You think I can hit him fourth?
He's going to do some weird shit with him, too. Like, he's going to
waiting.
Pinch run him, like, in the 7th or some shit like that. Like, move him to left field and have him, like, move on the mound, like if it goes into extras, like he's gonna be like doing shit like that.
He's gonna play the matchups, right? Where he like faces all the righties, but like none of the lefties. Like that's some shit he's gonna do.
What's
if
the
there
rule
wasn't a batter minimum, he would do that. You can do that.
Oh, true. There is a batter minimum now. Yeah.
So, but like you can sub like any position on the field. So, like if let's say Ohtani was the starter and he's facing all right-handers and a lefty comes up, can Madden just call time and switch positions, like put Ohtani somewhere in the field and then move him back? Or no?
He can't do that. Jimmy, maybe you know the answer to this. I don't know, like, does a 3-batter – so there's a 3-batter minimum now. But does that only stand for guys that, like, you're inserting into the ball game? So, like, could he go – he faces a righty, then he goes out to left field for a lefty, and then he comes back in for the next batter because like he's still in the game, or does he have to face? I don't know how the rule works, but
I think the rule states that a pitcher has to throw to 3 batters unless it's the end of the inning. So I think that pitcher would have to face a minimum of 3.
Yeah,
but
he can do what you said though, Andy. Where like they can
move him to a position and then move him back.
Yeah, well, like Madden did that with a few years ago with the Cubs. He did that with Travis Wood, who was like a pitcher. Like he threw Travis Wood out there and he was pitching, and then he was facing a tough righty, so they bumped him out to left field, and then brought a righty in to face the righty batter. The guy flew out to left field where Travis Wood was playing. Travis Wood made the play at the wall, made the catch, and then came back in to pitch the rest of the inning.
So, yeah, I think Joe Madden's the perfect guy to have as show manager. I don't know.
Perfect and awful at the same time.
I think like Lou Piniella did that too also with Sean Marshall. I feel like it's just like with lefties, but I don't know. We're not going to see that anymore now.
Yeah.
So we have a listener comment here. Said, I think the Yankees have a good chance to win it all. This is just my prediction. I completely hate them. And I don't know a lot of people who really like the Yankees. So that's kind of segues. Thank you for the segue there, JR, my guy, tight spot. So who do you guys think is the favorite in the AL? Let's talk about the AL for a little bit. And then I want to get into the minor leagues before we finish up and like how you guys really think that's all going to work after all this contraction and the loss of like 40 teams or something like that. Yeah. So American League, who are you guys looking at? Obviously the Yankees are always there. They pay everyone. It seems like a just ridiculous amount of money. Like they just acquired Rougned Odor from the Rangers, and I don't really know where they're going to put him. Like,
he's not very good.
He's not very good, but yeah, they're paying. They just absorbed like $27 million of his contract for a guy that I don't think he's going to play every day.
No. They can do whatever the hell they want. The AL is a lot different than the NL because I think the NL has like the 3 best teams in my eyes are the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Braves in the NL. The AL, like I think the Yankees are really good. I think the Rays are really good again. I think the Angels are going to be decent, but then you also have like the A's and the Astros are good, and then you have the White Sox and Twins. Like I think that the AL is really like well balanced as opposed to the NL, which is very lopsided. And so really, whatever team comes out of the AL, like in the World Series, like it wouldn't really surprise me. I mean, it'd surprise me if like the Cleveland Indians do, but like I think that there's a lot of different options that wouldn't really surprise me all that much.
The Cleveland baseball team.
Yeah, my bad.
I feel like the AL always has like a random like sneaky team. I think like the Twins might be that team this year. Byron Buxton's off to a good start. They got Barrios, who's going to be an ace on my fantasy team as well.
Nelson Cruz is going to hit 40 home runs till he's like 50 years old. Like,
as
how
always.
old is Nelson Cruz? He's like 45, and he's still just hitting like 40 dongs a year.
Yeah.
Just like dong shots too. Like
not wall scrapers. Like those
he's
are
40. He is 40 years old.
Playing like a
that
25-year-old.
Like 12 hours a day, just like rolls out, drives to the field, and just mashes. But yeah, like I don't know. Boston could be all right. Like Yankees. I don't know. I really don't watch the AL as much as I do the NL. But yeah, I feel like the AL, like it's anyone's game. Yeah, Rays, really good again. Astros, they've been doing all right. Everyone's throwing garbage cans onto the field, which is awesome. Just amazing.
I love it. Yeah. Oh, you know what? According to Dusty Baker, the Astros have paid for their sins. Okay, they haven't paid shit. They're all immune and nothing has happened. Fucking Nick Castellanos says
he got suspended.
Suspended longer than anybody on the Astros.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jimmy's just a baseball purist. That makes sense why he only watches the NL. He likes to see the pitchers hit. It's all about the strategy for Jimmy. So something we were talking about a little bit earlier, but we really didn't get into was the minor leagues. So you guys do a minor league podcast, but you've done the majority of that podcast with no minor league games. So kind of give me an update, give anybody who's not really familiar with it what that season is going to look like this year. When does that get started? Fans in the stands like major leagues? I'm not sure. Just like what's everything going to look like? Jimmy, I'm going to start with you.
Start with me?
Psych, we're going to start with Greg.
You want me to lead off, Jimmy? Logistically, so the minor league season is it's shortened down. It's typically 140 games. This year it's 120 games for all levels. It starts up the first week of May, and what it's doing is they have typically, I mean, it's like the majors where you got like 4-game sets, 3-game sets, 5-game sets, like stuff like that. But this year they're doing 6-game series at a time. So they'll play in one location. So for example, like the Iowa Cubs will travel and play against the Columbus Clippers, and they will play Tuesday through Sunday. They'll play a full 6-game series, and Mondays are off days for the entire minor league system for every league, every team, everybody. All Mondays off. That way they can kind of cut down on travel. They can limit their exposure to as many people as they possibly can and be good in one location. So that's their plan logistically. It's kind of I mean, I still am really frustrated with Major League Baseball and Rob Manfred for cutting 42 minor league teams and taking the baseball out of those communities. But now it's to the point where it's kind of like, well, we just gotta move on to what this looks like now, you know? And so I think that it's going to be interesting. I know that the most interesting part to me is going to be seeing how some of these players perform after being away from the sport for so long. You know what I mean? I mean, like they've been working on their own, but also like it's going to be weird to see how some guys have had the opportunity to train with specific trainers over this past year, right? Some guys haven't had that opportunity. They've been like making makeshift mounds and throwing into nets at home. And so like it's going to make a big difference on seeing like what guys trained their asses off over the past year because they could, what guys couldn't do that, and then what guys just like didn't have the opportunity to do that. You know what I mean? And so I think that all these like prospect lists and people scouting players and stuff like that. It's all going to go out the window. I mean, I made my prospect list for Cubs Insider a couple weeks ago or a few weeks ago, right? I did my top 40 players, and everything I based all my information off because I had a list in 2020, and then there was no baseball for the entire year in 2020, and I made another list in 2021. And all that information was based off of what I've heard from players and what I've watched on their Instagrams and what I've heard from other scouts. You know what I mean? And so, like, we just have no idea how some of these players are going to perform. And it's going to be super interesting to see how, like, jacked some guy is because he just spent his entire offseason lifting, and, like, what guy developed, like, 3 new pitches in the offseason. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's that, like, you just – what that reminds me of is this guy that plays for the Tigers, Akil Baddoo.
Yeah.
That, you know, he spent like entire last year, 2020, not playing. Before that, he was in like double-A ball. Yeah. He made the Tigers roster this year. First pitch he sees all year is a fucking dinger. Like, those are the stories in baseball that I love, that are awesome. Of the teams that, you know, kind of that had to cease operations, any of those back in indie ball, or is there any chance those communities get more baseball?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing with those teams that were cut, I mean, some of them went to indie ball, and they're still like professional teams. Some of them hopped on with their like college wood bat leagues over the summer, but a lot of them maintained a relationship with Major League Baseball, whatever the hell that means. Really, the way I view it is that a lot of fans love to go to these love to go to these ballparks to see future major league players play, whether they know the players or not. Like, they don't need to know the players, but they just like the idea of saying, all right, I'm going to the park, I'm going to see a future Cub play or see a future Cardinal play. And like, they don't get that anymore. You know what I mean? And like, I feel like that's going to hurt some of these teams in these communities, even though they kept baseball in those towns. Like, it still doesn't, it's not the same thing to have an indie ball team versus a affiliated minor league team.
My headphones died, so as I very sneakily like plugged them in and stuff. So if this has already been mentioned too, I'm sorry, but did you mention that they're like experimenting with some rule changes also in the minors?
Haven't mentioned it yet. No.
No, go. The floor is yours, my friend.
Oh man, I can't remember like which levels, but so like each level they're like experimenting with something new. So like robo they're experimenting with increasing the bases. So they're adding extra 6 inches to like each base. So they're a little bit closer together. Try and, you know, improve like offensive numbers. Trying to think what else.
Pick off limitations. Shifting.
Yeah, pick off limitations. So you can't pick off more than twice in a row. Well, you can, but if you throw over like a third time and you don't get the runner out, it's like a balk. Lefties can't do like a step to first move. And this isn't in like every league. This is different ones. And we went over this in our podcast. But off the top of my head, I can't remember like which rule applies to like which level. But they're trying out a lot of different stuff. And we've seen this before too, where they kind of like experiment with different rule changes like in the minor leagues before they like implement them into Major League Baseball. And they're doing a lot of those right now too for this year.
The most polarizing is probably the shift. They're limiting the shift in Double-A. So you can't these crazy shifts. You can't do that anymore.
Wow. Okay. Speaking of rules, one rule that I'm not really a fan of is putting the runner on second base in extra innings. What do you guys think about that? To me, it feels like a fucking travel baseball tournament, like a 13U travel baseball tournament. That's gone a couple hours too long, and they're trying to get through before
those games that have
before
the
sun goes down. Yeah. But no, that's the whole thing. Major League Baseball, or they're trying to make a game faster that has no clock.
Yeah. Jimmy, I'll let you start on that one.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. It feels like 13U baseball, and I didn't like it then when I was playing, and I don't like it really now. I don't know. I'm not like a pace of play person. I see like on Twitter like a lot of people talking about like, well, if you want a quick baseball game, this isn't the one for you. But it's like I don't I don't know. I want a baseball game to be like what it is, you know? Like the Cubs game today was pretty quick, but they also like got no hit through like 6 innings, and that's not like a very fun game to watch. Yeah. So I don't really worry that much about like the pace of play. I think putting the runner on second base just feels a little like amateur and extras. You know, I'm a purist in that sense. Not with like pitchers hitting, but I don't know. If a game needs to go 16 innings to figure out who like a winner is, I'd be more for like being able to just like add another reliever or something like that, you know, like they do now. So I don't know. I hate the extra inning rule. And I feel like part of it too isn't just like the pace of play, but it is so like they don't want games going for, you know, 20 innings and having them like burn pitcher after pitcher, which is understandable, but I think there's better ways to kind of like improve that without doing the runner on second.
Yeah, I'm actually like I'm surprisingly like neutral on the rule. Like the positive I think is that it brings a little bit more excitement. Like this is only the positive. 'Cause I'll get into the negatives, right? The positive, like it's just more exciting, right? If there's a game in extra innings and like I'm on MLB TV. Like if it's a normal extra innings where like there's no runner starting on second base, like it's like, all right, I'll wait to flip that game on until like there's somebody in scoring position. And so like now you're starting off with someone in scoring position, different things can happen. I mean, you're bringing another variable into the equation and like it makes it a little bit more exciting. But the negative is just that it's the reason they're doing it is to speed up the game, not to find who the real winner is going to be. And I feel like you shouldn't be making rules that aren't trying to get the real winner of a game. Like they're strictly doing it to speed up the game. And it's amateur, it's Little League baseball, it's stuff like that. And I mean, really the reason why that rule exists is because in travel ball, when you'd be playing in travel tournaments, like you'd have like the hour and a half like time limit because like the next game had to come on the field after you. And like that's why that rule exists. And like you don't need that in a Major League Baseball game. So I see both sides. I really do, but I think I lean more towards not liking it. But I get the people that do like it though. I understand why they like it.
Yeah.
And I think the whole like pace of play argument too just comes down to like making the game more accessible to more fans. And I think there's a lot better ways that baseball could do that as far as just like branding goes, not cutting minor league baseball and having it accessible to like communities where, you know, there isn't a major league team around. There's like a lot more stuff that they could do instead of just like being so laser focused on pace of play, which I think is like the most frustrating part of like all of that for me.
Yeah, maybe let people tweet out more than a GIF of what's happening in an MLB game. But guys,
no blackouts,
no blackouts, or like God, like
I couldn't watch the Cubs opening day. I couldn't watch the Cubs opening day because they played the Pirates, and here in Columbus, the Pirates are blacked out here.
It's ridiculous, dude. Like we're like in Champaign here. We're 2.5 hours away from Chicago, and they used to. I don't know if it still is on Marquee Network if they're blacking out games, but like at work, like people would be asking for the Cubs game. Like, I'm sorry, it's blacked out. Like we literally can't get it. It makes no sense. They talk about all they ever fucking talk about is wanting to grow the game and make it a global and make it bigger and make it bigger
and make it so people can fucking watch.
You're not doing anything to do that. Like it's you're just shooting yourselves in the foot.
Yeah.
So this has been awesome, guys. I think we get ready to close this out here. Before we do, Jimmy, just you have the floor. Tell me about your fantasy team. Like everybody wants to know.
Well, my strategy going in. How long do I have?
As long as you need.
Okay, like 5 minutes. So my strategy going in, really, I didn't do like too much research. I had to work, so it was kind of like this, where like I just got off work, I like sprinted home, and I just like winged it. Mm-hmm. But my strategy going in was I was going to get bats first, you know, because I feel like I know some pitchers later on, like down in the draft, that I had my eyes on that I could pick up that could, you know, like they're frontline starters that just haven't really like proven themselves yet. And I was going to get them for cheap. So my first picks, I went for like Story. I got Bogart. I got Machado. I got guys I could hit. Like I got Bogarts in my utility spot right now. And I'm like, later on down the road, I'm going to get my starters, right? So I knew I wanted at least one ace, like one proven guy. So I went ahead and just got Glasnow a little bit earlier than I would have liked. But, I got Glasnow. And then I was like, all right, my time to shine later rounds. So I got Berrios from the Twins, who is an absolute stud. Picked him up late. Got Ohtani super late as well. I got Sandy Alcantara, who started opening day for the Marlins. Yeah. He's good. He's looking really, really good. Fun fact, he led the MLB in losses a couple years ago with 14 with a sub-4 ERA.
That's some Jacob deGrom shit.
He's a former Cardinal. The Marlins got him in the Marcel Ozuna deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dude throws absolute gas. And he's actually racking really up strikeouts this year. He's kind of more just like a sinker baller. Like people just, beat the ball into the dirt with him. But he's racking up the strikeouts, which is, good because he's been getting me hella points. I got the Jesus Luzardo dude from the A's.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely filthy. Hasn't been too good so far this year, but he's getting a lot of strikeouts, so I'm still getting points. He also started today, and I got him in a reliever role too because they're kind of the A's are mixing it up with him.
Yeah.
I got a couple Yankees, which kind of sucks. I got Sanchez and Stanton, which it's they're playing in a sandbox, so they're going to get you some points because they're just going to be hitting dongs. But yeah, I'm trying to think who else was a really good pickup. I had so many.
I had so many.
I scored the most points so far, I think, of anyone else in the league.
Sick brag.
I'm beating Grant Baker pretty handily right now, I might add.
Well, it's kind of funny because the league is so when I compile the league, it's a bunch of guys from Cubs Twitter, and then it's some Champagne guys that are mostly like Cardinals fans. And so you've got a lot of I was curious to see how many Cubs players would get taken by the Cubs Twitter guys, and they're pretty smart with the picks for the most part.
Yeah, I'm not pretty smart not taking any Cubs. Yeah. No. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, Jimmy, I'm the same way. I kind of forgot that our draft was that Thursday. So I was at work and I was I got the text from Greg, oh, just confirming everybody's good for tonight. And I'm like, fuck. So I got off work and I think I missed my first 3 picks, but I got home and I'm happy with my team. I'm happy with my team for what I definitely just winging it. For sure. But it was the first day we had that goddamn group message. I said something about Yachty and just like that. It was just everybody's going
piling on
each other. And then Grant Baker's got his classic haters don't hate on nobodies. Boys, this has been absolutely incredible. Any closing thoughts you guys have? Tell everybody where to find the Growing Cubs podcast. Anything you guys want to promote. The floor is all yours. Jimmy, I love to hear about your fantasy team. I'm shaking in my boots for when I have to face you.
Yeah, you don't want the smoke.
You don't want this.
You can find me on Twitter at Nelligan Jimmy, spelled exactly like my name down here. I'm really not very good on Twitter, but that's all right. You can still follow me.
Yeah, you can find me if you want a whole lot of Cubs minor league baseball content. You can find me at Out of the Vines on Twitter, but you can find the podcast anywhere where you guys listen to the Brew Party. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that good stuff. We'll be gearing it up to have weekly episodes, and you can follow the podcast too on Instagram at Growing Cubs Pod. I've been trying to keep the Instagram up and going. It's a little more difficult than I thought it was going to be and stuff like that. But
process.
It's a process. So you can follow us, Growing Cubs Pod on Insta. And yeah, just tune in if you're interested in all that stuff. We get pretty deep into the weeds on some of that stuff, so I understand if not. But yeah, appreciate you having me on, Andy. It's been awesome.
Seriously,
yeah, thanks, it's been fun.
Anytime you guys would like to come on and talk baseball, I would absolutely love to have you. Like I said, I'm a Cardinals fan, but I still love tuning into your guys' podcast and hearing what you guys have to say about baseball and just in general because you're both very knowledgeable. I mean, Greg, you talk about Ball State Club baseball legend, and you talk about Jimmy, just one of the best pitchers to ever play at the University of Indianapolis for only a semester or a year or whatever it was.
A couple of absolute legends over here.
A couple of just fucking tanks over here. I'll leave you guys with this stat. 2021 batting averages, pitchers 154, the Chicago Cubs 124. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Brew Party Podcast, episode number 56, featuring the Growing Cubs podcast. Greg Huss and Jimmy Nelligan. Seriously, guys, this was so much fun. Anytime, I'd love to have you guys back. You can find the video out now on our YouTube, youtube.com/The Brew Party, or on our Twitter or our Facebook, on Facebook at The Brew Party Podcast, on Twitter at The Brew Party. The audio for this will be out Thursday morning, along with our Masters special earlier with Lucas Wilson, a couple masturbators, giving you some Masters picks for this weekend. And then we couple it with this awesome baseball conversation, getting you ready for the 2021 season of Major League Baseball and some minor league stuff in there as well. Greg, Jimmy, thank you guys so much. Episode 56 of the Brew Party Podcast. Find us on Apple, find us on Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Pandora, all of those good places, or www.thebrewparty.com. All those places I just mentioned, go ahead and search for the Growing Cubs Podcast as well. We are out of here. Happy Wednesday. Like I said earlier, let's play 2. We just did the Brew Party Podcast.